The year was 2347. Humanity had spread far beyond Earth. They had built colonies on dozens of worlds across 3 solar systems. The United Earth Coalition governed all human settlements with one simple rule: peace first, always. Commander Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his starship, the Resolute. He was a tall man with gray eyes and a face that had seen too many difficult days. His crew of 200 trusted him with their lives. He had never let them down. The Resolute was on a routine patrol near the frontier when the distress signal came through. It was weak and broken, but the words were clear enough. New Haven Colony was under attack. 3,000 people lived there. Families, children, scientists. Farmers. Jack turned to his navigation officer. "How fast can we get there?" 4 hours at maximum speed, sir." "Do it." The ship jumped through space. Jack paced the bridge. He had a bad feeling in his stomach. New Haven was a peaceful colony. They had no enemies. They had no military value. Why would anyone attack them? When the Resolute arrived, Jack felt his heart sink. The colony was burning. Buildings that had taken years to construct were now piles of rubble. Bodies lay in the streets. The smell of smoke and death filled the air even before the landing parties touched ground. Jack led the first team himself. They moved through the ruined streets with weapons ready, but there was no one left to fight. The attackers were gone. They found survivors in an underground bunker beneath the old research center. 47 people out of 3,000. Most of them were children. A woman crawled out of the bunker. Her clothes were torn, and her face was covered in dust and dried blood. But her eyes were sharp and focused. She introduced herself as Dr. Lisa Hartwell, a xenobiologist. "What happened here?" Jack asked her. Lisa took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. "They came without warning. Ships appeared in the sky. Big ships, bigger than anything I have ever seen. Then smaller craft came down, and the creatures inside them." She stopped. A young boy was clinging to her leg, crying softly. "Take your time," Jack said gently. They were tall, insect-like, multiple arms, dark shells covering their bodies. They did not try to talk to us. They did not demand anything. They just started killing and taking. "Taking?" Lisa nodded. "They took people alive, loaded them onto their ships. I do not know why. I grabbed as many children as I could and ran for the bunker. We hid there for 2 days. I could hear the screaming above us. Then it stopped. Then there was only silence." Jack looked at the ruins around him. He had served in the military for 20 years. He had seen conflicts. He had seen death. But this was something different. This was not war. This was slaughter. He reported everything to Earth. Admiral Nathan Cole received the transmission in his office at Coalition Command. He was an old man with white hair and a face like carved stone. He had hoped to retire without seeing another war. That hope died as he watched Jack's report. The High Council assembled within hours. 12 men and women who governed all of humanity sat around a long table. They watched the footage from New Haven. Some of them cried. Some of them sat in stunned silence. Some of them demanded immediate revenge. Admiral Cole raised his hand for silence. "We do not know who these attackers are. We do not know why they did this. Before we act, we must try to understand." A young council member named Patricia Hall slammed her fist on the table. "Understand? 3,000 people are dead. What is there to understand?" "Everything," Cole replied calmly. "We have spent 300 years building a civilization based on peace. We cannot abandon that because of one attack, no matter how terrible. We must try diplomacy first." The council voted. It was close, but Cole won. They would attempt to make contact with the attackers. They would try to find a peaceful solution. Ambassador Claire Dawson volunteered to lead the diplomatic mission. She was 50 years old and had negotiated peace treaties between human factions for most of her career. She believed that all conflicts could be resolved through communication. Her ship was called the Olive Branch. It carried no weapons. It broadcast messages of peace on all frequencies. Claire brought gifts, art, music, samples of human culture. She wanted to show these aliens that humanity was not a threat. Intelligence. Teams had tracked the alien ships back to their territory. They called themselves the Volrath. They controlled a large section of space and had conquered many other species. They were warriors. They were hunters. They did not negotiate. The Olive Branch entered Volrath space on a Tuesday morning. Claire stood on the bridge, rehearsing her greeting. She had learned a few words of the Volrath language from captured transmissions. She hoped it would be enough. It was not. The Volrath ships appeared within minutes. 12 warships surrounded the Olive Branch. Claire tried to transmit her message. She tried to explain that she came in peace. She tried to offer friendship. The Volrath did not respond with words. They responded with weapons. The Olive Branch had no shields, no defenses. The first shot tore through the hull. Claire was thrown across the bridge. Alarm screamed. Her crew tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Claire crawled to the communication console. Blood was running down her face. She opened a channel to Earth. She wanted to send one last message. She wanted humanity to know what had happened. "They are not interested in peace," she said, her voice breaking. "They attacked without warning, without reason. They are monsters. Do not let my death be meaningless. Protect our people. Protect our children. Do whatever you must." The transmission ended with the sound of an explosion. Then static. Then silence. Admiral Cole listened to the recording 17 times. Each time, he heard Claire's final words. Each time, he felt something cold growing in his chest. The council met again. This time, there was no debate. The Volrath had made their intentions clear. They did not want peace. They did not want to talk. They wanted to kill, but Cole was not ready to give up. Not yet. He had one more idea. One more chance to avoid the bloodshed that he knew was coming. "We send them a warning," he said. "One final warning. We tell them exactly what will happen if they continue. We show them who we really are, and if they ignore it..." He paused, his old eyes hard as steel. "Then we show them what humanity becomes when mercy runs out." The council agreed. Earth would send its last warning, and the galaxy would learn why humans should never be pushed too far. Admiral Nathan Cole stood in the deepest part of Coalition Command. Around him, engineers and scientists worked on the most important message humanity had ever sent. It was not just words. It was a declaration, a promise, a threat. The probe was small, no bigger than a car, but it carried the weight of an entire species. Cole had spent 3 days writing the message himself. He had rewritten it dozens of times. Every word had to be perfect. The final version was simple. Cole believed that simple words carried the most power. "We are humanity. We come from a small blue world called Earth. We have spread across the stars not to conquer, but to explore. We do not wish for war. We have shown you mercy by not retaliating for the deaths of our people at New Haven. We have shown you mercy by sending diplomats instead of warships. This mercy has limits. Cease your attacks immediately. Return our captured citizens. Failure to comply will result in consequences you cannot imagine. This is Earth's last warning. There will not be another." The probe also carried something else. Recordings, images, sounds. Cole wanted the Volrath to see what humans were. Not just soldiers. Not just enemies. But people. There were videos of children playing in parks. Families eating dinner together. Artists painting beautiful pictures. Musicians playing songs that made people cry with joy. Scientists discovering the secrets of the universe. Lovers holding hands under alien suns. Cole hoped the Velroth would see these images and understand. Humans were not prey. Humans were not weak. Humans simply chose to be kind. And that kindness should not be mistaken for weakness. The probe launched on a cold morning. Cole watched it disappear into the darkness of space. He said a quiet prayer, though he was not sure who he's praying to. He just hoped someone was listening. 2 weeks passed. The probe reached Velroth space. Scanners showed that the aliens had received it. They had opened it. They had seen everything. Cole waited for a response. He hoped for words. Maybe even an apology. Maybe the beginning of peace. What he received was an image. Human bodies. Dozens of them. Arranged in a perfect geometric pattern on a flat stone surface. Their eyes were open. Their mouths were frozen in silent screams. The image was clear and bright, meant to be seen in detail. Cole stared at the image for a long time. His hands did not shake. His face did not change. But something inside him died. The last piece of hope he had been holding on to crumbled into dust. "They are laughing at us," said Patricia Hall, who stood beside him. "They think we are jokes. They think our mercy makes us weak." "Yes," Cole said quietly. "They do. What do we do now?" Cole turned away from the screen. His eyes were cold and empty. "We teach them how wrong they are." But before the lesson could begin, the Velroth struck again. On the frontier world of Artemis IV, a small military garrison protected a mining settlement. The base was commanded by Lieutenant Kevin Price, a young officer with more courage than experience. His second in command was Sergeant Megan Torres, a veteran who had seen action on 3 different worlds. Kevin was eating breakfast when the alarm started screaming. "What is happening?" he shouted, running to the command center. Megan was already there, staring at the sensor screens. Her face was pale. "Velroth ships. Lots of them. They will be here in 20 minutes. Kevin looked at the numbers. 50 enemy ships. His garrison had 200 soldiers and no air support. The math was simple. The math was terrible. "How many civilians in the settlement?" he asked. 800. Mostly miners and their families. Kevin made his decision instantly. There was no time for doubt. Begin evacuation. Get everyone into the deep mines. The rock will protect them from orbital bombardment. We hold the surface as long as we can. "Sir, we cannot win this fight," Megan said. "Not arguing. Just stating a fact. I know. But we can buy time. Every minute we hold is another minute for civilians to escape. That is what we are here for. That is what soldiers do." The evacuation was chaos. Families grabbed what they could and ran for the mine entrances. Children cried. Parents shouted. Kevin's soldiers formed a perimeter around the settlement, preparing for the storm that was coming. The Velroth ships appeared in the sky like dark clouds. Smaller craft descended, carrying warriors. Kevin watched them through his binoculars. Tall, insect-like creatures with hard shells and multiple arms. Each one carried weapons that looked like parts of their own bodies. "Hold your fire until they are in range," Kevin ordered through the communication system. "Make every shot count. We are not dying for nothing today." The first wave of Velroth charged across the open ground. Kevin's soldiers opened fire. The aliens fell by the dozens, their dark blood spraying across the dirt. But more kept coming. Always more. Kevin fought beside his troops. He was not the type of officer who hid behind others. His rifle grew hot in his hands. His arms ached. But he kept firing. Megan appeared beside him, throwing a grenade into a group of advancing Velroth. The explosion sent bodies flying. Civilians are 70% evacuated, she reported. Good. Keep fighting. The battle lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of screaming and dying and refusing to give up. Kevin watched his soldiers fall one by one. 18 dead. 30 wounded. But they held the line, and something strange happened. The Velroth began to slow, then stop, then retreat. Kevin could not believe it. He watched the alien warriors pull back, climbing into their ships, rising into the sky. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. Megan collapsed beside him, breathing hard. Blood was running from a cut on her forehead. Why did they leave? They had us. They could have finished us. Kevin shook his head. I do not know. Maybe they were not expecting a fight. Maybe they thought we would run like the others. Maybe they finally learned that humans do not run. He looked at the bodies scattered across the battlefield. Velroth bodies. Hundreds of them. His small garrison had killed over 300 enemy warriors. Send a message to command, he said. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that when humans fight back, the Velroth lose. The message reached Admiral Cole within hours. He read it with something that might have been a smile on his old, tired face. They can be beaten, he said softly. They are not invincible. They just never faced anyone willing to truly fight. He called his senior officers together. It was time to stop hoping for peace. It was time to prepare for war. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in facilities that did not officially exist, scientists and engineers began activating projects that had been sleeping for decades. Weapons that humanity had built and prayed they would never need. The Velroth had ignored Earth's last warning. They had laughed at human mercy. They had mistaken kindness for weakness. They were about to learn the truth. Cole stood at the window of his office, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velroth were celebrating what they thought was another easy conquest. They had no idea what was coming. We gave you a chance, Cole whispered to the darkness. We gave you every chance. Remember that. When the fire comes, remember that you chose this. Not us, you. The machinery of war began to turn, and the galaxy held its breath. What the Velroth did not know, what no alien species knew, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 300 years. When humans first reached the stars, they looked around and saw a dangerous universe. They saw species that conquered and enslaved. They saw empires built on blood and cruelty. And they made a decision. They would be peaceful. They would be kind. But they would also be ready. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in tunnels that stretched for hundreds of kilometers, humanity had built its insurance. Ships designed not for exploration, but for war. Weapons that could crack planets. Technology that would make gods tremble. They called it the Prometheus Protocol, named after the ancient story of the one who brought fire to mankind. Fire could warm. Fire could cook. Fire could also burn everything to ash. Admiral Cole activated the protocol on a quiet Tuesday morning. Across human space, sealed doors opened. Sleeping giants woke up. The galaxy was about to meet a humanity it had never seen before. Captain Ryan Fletcher stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, Harbinger. He was 42 years old, with short dark hair and eyes that had seen too much. He had spent his entire career training for a war he hoped would never come. The Harbinger was the first of 12 such ships. Each one was 3 kilometers long. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a fleet. Each one was crewed by soldiers who had volunteered knowing they might not come home. Ryan looked at his officers. The mission is simple. We enter Velroth space. We destroy their military capability. We show them what happens when they attack humanity. Questions? Lieutenant Commander Sam Young, his tactical officer, raised a hand. Rules of engagement, sir. No civilian targets. No unnecessary deaths. We are not like them. We do not kill for pleasure. We kill because we must. Every shot we fire should have a purpose. Every life we take should be necessary. We are ending a war, not starting a genocide. The crew nodded. They understood. This was not revenge. This was justice. There was a difference. Dr. Amy Chun worked in the weapons lab deep within the Harbinger. She was a small woman with tired eyes and nervous hands. She had spent 10 years developing the weapon that now sat in the center of her laboratory. She had named it the Unmaker. The Unmaker worked on the most basic level of reality. It destabilized molecular bonds. It turned solid matter into dust. It was the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created. And Amy hated it. She had built it because she was asked to. Because she believed it would never be used. Because she thought it would remain a deterrent, a threat, a warning. Now it was loaded and ready. Captain Fletcher visited her before the mission. He found her staring at the weapon with empty eyes. "Are you all right?" he asked. "No," she said honestly. "I built something that will kill thousands, maybe millions. How could I be all right?" Fletcher nodded slowly. "I understand. But think about this. How many will die if we do not use it? How many more New Havens? How many more children taken from their families? The Velrith will not stop. They have made that clear. The only way to save lives is to end this quickly." Amy closed her eyes. "I know, it does not make it easier. It should not be easy. The day killing becomes easy is the day we stop being human." The fleet jumped to the Velrith border. 12 dreadnoughts, 50 cruisers, and 200 support ships. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Cole addressed them from Earth. His face appeared on every screen in every ship. "Soldiers of humanity. For 300 years, we have built our civilization on peace. We have traded instead of conquered. We have healed instead of harmed. We have extended hands of friendship to every species we have met. The Velrith have mistaken our kindness for weakness. They have attacked our colonies. They have murdered our people. They have stolen our children. Today, we correct their mistake. Today, they learn the truth about humanity. We are not sheep. We are wolves who have chosen to live peacefully. And God help those who force us to remember what we are. Good luck, good hunting. Make them remember this day forever." The first target was Sketh Prime, a major Velrith military outpost. 40 warships defended it. The Velrith commanders felt confident. They had crushed many enemies before. Humans would be no different. They were wrong. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human ships moved in perfect coordination. Their weapons fired with surgical precision. Velrith ships exploded one after another. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons could not penetrate human shields. Their ships could not match human speed. Their tactics could not counter human strategy. Captain Fletcher watched the destruction from the Harbinger's bridge. He felt no joy, only a cold determination. "The outpost defenses are targeting us," reported Lieutenant Commander Young. "Dr. Chun, deploy the Unmaker. Military installations only." In the weapons lab, Amy pressed the button with shaking hands. A beam of pale blue light shot from the Harbinger. It touched the surface of Sketh Prime. The military base simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, there was only dust and silence. No explosion. No fire. Just absence. The Velrith survivors watched in horror. They had never seen anything like this. They had never imagined anything like this. The human fleet did not pursue them. They did not attack civilian areas. They did not demand surrender. They simply left, jumping back into their own space as quickly as they had come, but they left behind something. Important. Survivors. Witnesses. Volrith. Who had seen the true face of human power. Those survivors carried stories home. Stories of ships that could not be stopped. Weapons that could unmake matter itself. Humans who fought with cold efficiency and terrible skill. Fear spread through the Volrith Empire like a disease. On the homeworld of Velathos, the High Brood gathered. The old leaders, the conquerors of 17 species, listened to reports from Sketh Prime. They did not believe what they were hearing. One battle means nothing, said war leader Scrix. We have millions of warriors. We have thousands of ships. The humans are few. We will crush them with numbers. But others were not so sure. They had seen the footage from Sketh Prime. They had watched Volrith ships die in seconds. They had watched a military base vanish like smoke in the wind. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested one elder. Perhaps we went too far at New Haven. Scrix killed him with a single blow. We do not negotiate with prey. We do not show weakness. We are Volrith. We conquer. That is what we are. That is what we do. Mobilize everything. Call every warrior. We will teach these humans what it means to challenge us. The order went out. Every Volrith world began preparing for total war. But somewhere in the darkness of space, human ships were already moving, planning, waiting. Captain Fletcher received new orders. More targets. More battles. The systematic dismantling of an empire that had never known defeat. They still do not understand, he said quietly, looking at the star map. They think this is a war. They think they can win. Can they? Asked Lieutenant Commander Young. Fletcher shook his head. No, but they will not accept that until we take everything from them. Until we stand over their homeworld. Until they have nothing left. He paused. War is not about killing. War is about breaking the enemy's will to fight. The Volrith will not stop until their will is completely broken. So that is what we must do. No matter how long it takes. No matter how many battles we must fight. The next target was already selected. The next battle was already planned. And somewhere out there, in Volrith prison camps, human captives were still waiting to be rescued. The war had truly begun, and humanity would not stop until it was finished. The war was 3 months old. The Volrith were losing. On the throne world of Velathos, the High Brood gathered in their ancient council chamber. The walls were decorated with trophies from 17 conquered species, skulls, flags, weapons, reminders of Volrith superiority. Now those reminders felt like mockery. War leader Scrix stood before the council. His shell was cracked from a recent battle. One of his arms hung useless at his side, but his eyes still burned with defiance. The situation is difficult, he admitted. The humans have destroyed 14 outposts. They have eliminated 3 of our border fleets. Our losses are significant. Significant? Shouted Elder Rex. We have lost more warriors in 3 months than in the last 100 years combined. This is not difficult. This is disaster. Scrix slammed his good arm against the table. We are Volrith. We do not surrender. We do not run. We adapt. We overcome. We will find a way to defeat these humans. How? Asked another elder. Their weapons are superior. Their ships are faster. Their tactics are unpredictable. Every strategy we try, they counter. Every trap we set, they avoid. The council fell silent. No one had answers, but what troubled them most was not the military defeats. It was the way the humans fought. Reports came in from every battle. The humans destroyed military targets only. They did not attack civilian populations. They did not burn cities. They did not kill the helpless. They were precise. They were efficient. They were restrained. The Velrith did not understand restraint. When they conquered completely. They took everything. They left nothing. That was the Velrith way. The human way was different. And somehow, that difference made them more terrifying. They are playing with us, Scrix realized suddenly. They could destroy our worlds. They have the power. But they choose not to. Why? No one answered. The question hung in the air like a curse. Far from Valathos, in a remote corner of Velrith space, a prison facility floated in orbit around a dead moon. It held over 700 human captives, survivors from New Haven and other raids. They were held in dark cells, fed barely enough to survive, waiting for a fate they did not want to imagine. Lieutenant Commander Brandon Hayes studied the facility through the view screen of his ship, the Silent Hunter. He was 35 years old, with a scar running down his left cheek from an old battle. His eyes were cold and focused. "Sensor analysis complete," reported his technical officer. 723 human life signs. Guard complement of approximately 300 Velrith warriors. Defense grid is minimal. They are not expecting an attack. Brandon nodded. They think we do not know about this place. They think these people are forgotten. He turned to his crew. They are wrong. No human is forgotten. No human is left behind. That is who we are. The rescue team consisted of 200 soldiers. They loaded into assault shuttles, checking their weapons, reviewing their training. This would be close combat. Room by room. Corridor by corridor. The most dangerous kind of fighting. Brandon's medic, Corporal Nicole Webb, sat beside him in the shuttle. She was young, barely 22, with red hair and freckles. She had volunteered for this mission because she wanted to help people. Now she was about to enter a war zone. Scared? Brandon asked her. Terrified, she admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just do not let it control you. Focus on the mission. Focus on the people we are saving. Everything else is noise. The assault began at midnight. Human shuttles screamed toward the prison facility, jamming Velrith communications, disabling defense systems with precision strikes. By the time the alarms started screaming, Brandon's team was already inside. The Velrith guards were caught off guard. They were prison guards, not frontline warriors. They had grown soft watching helpless captives. They were not prepared for human soldiers with blood in their eyes. Brandon led the charge personally. His rifle barked again and again. Velrith fell before him. His team moved through the facility like ghosts, fast and deadly. But the Velrith recovered quickly. Reinforcements arrived. The corridors filled with the sound of gunfire and screaming. A Velrith warrior charged at Brandon from a side door. He spun, too slow, and felt claws tear through his armor. Pain exploded across his chest. He fell backward, firing blind, and the warrior dropped. Nicole was beside him instantly, applying emergency treatment. You are losing blood. We need to get you out. Not until the job is done, Brandon growled. He pushed himself to his feet. His chest burned. His vision blurred. But he kept moving. They reached the first cell block. The door was locked. Brandon's demolition expert planted a charge and blew it open. Inside, dozens of humans huddled against the walls. Thin, pale, terrified. We are from Earth, Brandon announced. We are taking you home. A woman started crying. A man fell to his knees. Children ran forward, clutching at the soldiers' legs. 3 months of captivity. 3 months of darkness and fear. And now rescue had come. Brandon pushed forward. More cell blocks. More prisoners. More Velrith trying to stop them. The battle lasted 4 hours. Brandon lost 67 soldiers. 67 men and women who would never see Earth again. Their names would be carved on the memorial wall. Their sacrifice would never be forgotten, but they saved 723 people Nicole found herself treating a young boy, no older than 8. He was thin and shaking, his eyes too large in his narrow face. He looked up at her with something like wonder. "Are you angels?" he asked. Nicole felt tears rolling down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. "No, sweetheart. We are just people. We came to take you home." The boy reached out and touched her face, as if checking to make sure she was real. "I thought no one was coming. I thought everyone forgot about us." "We never forgot," Nicole whispered. "We never stopped looking. That is what humans do." The rescue footage was broadcast across all human space. People watched their soldiers carrying children out of darkness. They watched prisoners taking their first breaths of free air. They watched the reunion of families torn apart by violence. And they watched the Velroth bodies lying in the corridors. 300 guards who had tortured and starved human captives. 300 guards who would never hurt anyone again. Something changed in humanity that day. The war had been abstract before. Numbers on screens. Reports from distant battles. Now it was real. Now it had faces. Recruitment centers across human space were overwhelmed with volunteers. Factories increased production. Scientists worked faster. The entire species mobilized with a single purpose. Admiral Cole received a communication from the Velroth High Brood. They demanded terms for human surrender. They threatened to destroy human colonies if the attacks did not stop. They promised consequences beyond imagination. Cole read the message twice. Then he laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of a man who has seen too much to be impressed by threats. He recorded a simple response. "You stole our children. You tortured our people. You ignored every chance we gave you. And now you demand surrender? There will be no surrender. There will be no negotiation. There will only be an ending. And you will not like how it ends." He terminated the transmission without waiting for a reply. In his quarters that night, Brandon Hayes lay on a medical bed while doctors repaired his wounds. He should have been resting. Instead, he was watching the news, seeing the faces of the people he had saved. Nicole Webb knocked on his door. She looked exhausted, but somehow lighter than before. "The boy I treated," she said. "His name is Tommy. He wants to thank you personally when you are better." Brandon smiled. It hurt, but he did not care. "Tell him I will find him. Tell him we will talk." Nicole nodded. "What we did today. The people we saved. Is this why you joined the military?" Brandon thought about the question. "I joined because I wanted to protect people. Today, I actually did. Today was a good day." He paused. "Even with everything we lost, today was a good day." The war continued. More battles, more losses, more victories. But now humanity fought with something new burning in their hearts. Not just anger, not just revenge. Something deeper, something more powerful. Purpose. And the Velroth were about to learn that a united humanity with a purpose was the most dangerous force in the galaxy. The final battle came 6 months after the war began. Above Velethos, the Velroth homeworld, the largest fleet in the history of their species, had assembled. 2,000 warships formed a wall of metal and fire between humanity and their sacred planet. Every warrior who could hold a weapon was ready. Every ship that could fly was present. War. Leader Scrix stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars. He knew this was the end. One way or another, it would be decided here. "They are coming," reported his sensor officer. Scrix nodded. "How many?" 300 ships. And something else. Something large. Very large. On the view screen, the human fleet emerged from hyperspace. 300 vessels moving in perfect formation. And behind them, something that made Scrix's blood turn cold. It was the size of a small moon. Covered in weapons, glowing with power. The Velroth had never seen anything like it. The humans called it the Titan. Admiral Nathan Cole stood on the Titan's bridge. Beside him were the survivors of New Haven. They had been invited to witness this moment. Dr. Lisa Hartwell stood at the viewport, her hands pressed against the glass, her eyes fixed on the planet below. "So many ships," she whispered. "Can we really win?" Cole's face was calm. "Yes, but that is not really the question." "What is the question?" "The question is how we win. What kind of people we are when we win. That is what matters. That is what will be remembered." He turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Human and Velroth alike." His voice carried across the void of space. "People of Velethos, your leaders have brought this upon you. We offered peace. You chose war. We showed mercy. You showed cruelty. You stole our children. You murdered our families. You laughed at our warnings. Now witness what happens when humanity stops being merciful." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But know this. We are not like you. We will not harvest your young. We will not enslave your people. We will not burn your cities. We will simply remove your ability to ever threaten anyone again. Remember this day. Remember that we could have done worse. Remember that we chose not to." The Velroth response was a wave of fire. 2,000 ships opened up with everything they had. The space between the fleets filled with light and death. The battle was not close. Human weapons technology, developed over 3 centuries of careful preparation, outclassed everything the Velroth possessed. Human ships danced through enemy formations, striking with precision, avoiding return fire. Human shields held against attacks that would have destroyed any other vessel. Captain Ryan Fletcher commanded the Harbinger from the heart of the battle. His dreadnought tore through Velroth cruisers like a wolf through sheep. Around him, the other 11 ships of the Prometheus Protocol did the same. "Enemy flagship identified," reported Lieutenant Commander Sam Young. "War leader Scrix is aboard." Fletcher considered for a moment. "Disable it. Do not destroy it. I want him alive to see what comes next." The Harbinger's weapons lashed out, precise, surgical. Scrix's flagship went dark, its engines dead, its weapons silent. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Velroth fleet was broken. Hundreds of ships destroyed. Hundreds more surrendered. The rest drifted, powerless and defeated. The Titan moved forward, its massive shadow falling across Velethos. On the surface, Velroth civilians watched the sky with terror. They expected death. They expected fire raining from above. They expected the same destruction they had brought to so many other worlds. It did not come. Instead, human dropships descended. Thousands of soldiers landed at military installations, disarming defenders, securing weapons, preventing any last acts of desperation. They did not attack civilians. They did not burn buildings. They did not kill the helpless. They were efficient. They were professional. They were restrained. Admiral Cole landed on the surface with a personal guard. He walked through the streets of the Velroth capital, past crowds of silent, fearful aliens. They watched him with many eyes, waiting for the violence they were sure was coming. Cole stopped in the central square. He looked around at the ancient buildings, the statues of conquered enemies, the symbols of Velroth power. "Your empire is over," he announced, his voice amplified across the city. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your military is disbanded. Your conquered worlds will be freed. But your people will live. Your culture will survive. Your children will grow up in peace." He paused, making sure they understood. "We are not you. We do not destroy for pleasure. We do not conquer for pride. We defend. We protect. We end threats. and you were a threat. Now you are not. This is justice, not revenge. Remember the difference. 6 months later, the Treaty of Valathos was signed. The Volrath Empire was formally dissolved. The 17 species they had conquered were granted independence. Human ships helped them rebuild, provided them with resources, protected them from any who would try to enslave them again. The Volrath themselves were restricted to their home system. Their military was reduced to a small defensive force. They would never threaten anyone again. Ambassador Daniel Morrison oversaw the signing ceremony. He was Jack Morrison's younger brother, a diplomat who had dedicated his life to peace. He had hoped to never see a war. Now he was ending one. The new Volrath leader was named Thrix. He was a reformer, one who had opposed the attacks on humanity from the beginning. His survival was partly luck, partly the protection of humans who recognized that the Volrath needed new leadership. After the signing, Thrix approached Daniel. His translator device rendered his clicking language into human words. I have a question that has troubled me since this began. Why did you not simply destroy us? You had the power. After what we did to your people, no one would have blamed you. Why show mercy to those who showed you none? Daniel thought carefully before answering. Because that would make us like you. We would become the monsters we were fighting. Every time we considered total destruction, we asked ourselves, is this who we want to be? Is this the humanity we want to build? The answer was always no. We fight to protect. We do not fight to exterminate. That is the line we will not cross. Thrix was silent for a long moment. I do not understand you, but perhaps that is good. Perhaps that is why you won. You are something we have never seen before. Something we did not know how to fight. We are what we choose to be, Daniel replied. Every day, every decision, we choose. Your people chose to be conquerors. We chose to be protectors. In the end, protectors are stronger, because we fight for something worth fighting for. Years passed. Humanity became the dominant peacekeeping force in the region. Not through conquest, not through fear, through reputation. Every species knew the story. Humanity tried everything to avoid war. They sent diplomats. They sent warnings. They showed mercy again and again. And when they were finally pushed too far, they ended a war in less than a year. They were not attacked again. On New Haven, now rebuilt, a memorial stood in the center of the colony. It listed the names of everyone who had died in the original attack. 3,000 names carved in black stone. At the base of the memorial was a plaque. The words had been chosen by Dr. Lisa Hartwell, who now served as the colony's governor. We will always offer our hand in friendship first. We will always seek peace before war. We will always show mercy to those who deserve it, but harm the innocent, threaten our children, and we will remind the galaxy why Earth's children learn to carry fire. Lisa visited the memorial every year on the anniversary of the attack. She would stand there in silence, remembering those she had lost, thinking about those she had saved. One year, a young woman approached her. She introduced herself as Elena, one of the children Lisa had hidden in the bunker during the attack. She was 23 now, a student studying xenobiology like Lisa had been. I wanted to thank you, Elena said, for saving us, for not giving up, for teaching us that survival is not enough. We have to build something worth surviving for. Lisa smiled. That is all any of us can do. Build something worth fighting for. Something worth protecting. Something worth passing on to the next generation. She looked up at the stars, visible even in the daylight of New Haven's sky. The universe is dangerous. There will always be those who want to take what others have built. Our job is to be ready, to be strong, but also to be kind. Strength without kindness is tyranny. Kindness without strength is weakness. The balance is what makes us human. Elena nodded slowly. I want to help. I want to make sure this never happens again. Then do what humans have always done. Learn, grow, protect, and never, ever forget what we are capable of. Both the good and the terrible. That knowledge is our greatest weapon and our heaviest burden. The sun set over New Haven. The memorial glowed in the fading light. And somewhere across the galaxy, other species looked toward human space with a mixture of fear and respect. They had learned the lesson. The hard way. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. Humanity simply chose to be peaceful, and only the foolish ever made them choose otherwise.